The flow of life that comes from God is intended to be there for us eternally. It's not momentary. As a matter of fact, what we need to recognize is that when man was first created, the first man, Adam, he's created as an eternal creature. God breathed into him not breath that would last for a moment, but breath that would last for an eternity. The breath of life that God gave to the first man, Adam, was a breath to keep him alive eternally. We know that because in the scriptures it says the reason for God having to remove him from that garden is that he would experience eternal life in his fallen condition. And God said, I want to save him from that. Here's the thing I want you to understand. We were created to have an everlasting relationship with God. Now that's missing. Unfortunately, because of the same Adam, the first man, his failure, his disobedience led to what the Bible calls death. That's what God said to Adam. If you eat of this tree, the tree that I have forbidden you to eat from, you shall surely die. Now that death was not an ordinary death. Just like we're not talking about ordinary life. That death was not a cessation of physical existence. That death was a cessation of the eternal presence of God. What it actually meant is that from that moment forward, the moment that Adam would decide to disobey God, he would no longer have access to the ongoing, everlasting, eternal presence of God directly in his environment. You remember in our last program I shared with you just the analogy of the comfort that I have when my physical earthly father is present, literally in the same room with me. That's what the first Adam experienced. The eternal presence of God was with him all the time, constant, never failing to be with him. And it was a presence that literally filled the entire garden where Adam existed. In other words, it filled every capacity, or it filled the capacity of every part of Adam's life. He had the presence of God. His disobedience separated him from God. That separation, that is what you and I feel today. That's what we're born into today. Sin that separates us from God. Sin that removes us from the everlasting, eternal presence of God. And that's why for many of us who are struggling right now with that craving, that desire for something lasting on the inside of us, what we're really craving for is the presence of our Creator. We don't want to live in a world that God has created and for that Creator to be absent. We want God to be with us. That's our desire. Jesus says, I am come that you might have life, watch this, and that you might have it how? More abundantly. In other words, to have life in an excessive, immeasurable volume. The full presence of God. Jesus says, I'm coming to restore mankind. That means you. I'm coming to restore men and women. That means us together. I'm coming to restore them back into the presence of their eternal Creator. I'm coming so that they can experience God in every, I like this, in every moment and every portion of their day. To constantly be aware that God is with us.